Hey guys, Chaps here, and let's rewind a bit and recap the latest developer stream. Sorry, this was delayed a little bit. I was enjoying a nice relaxing vacation, but I'm back now, so let's check this out.
Let's talk about the developer playlist where it is right now.
They started off by spending quite a while discussing the developer playlist. In the interest of time, I won't include all of that here. You can just read the blog post if you want to get an overview of the changes. And actually, as I'm editing, I realize how long this has gotten, so I'm going to make a quick change. This stream had a ton of information about Jonathan and JimBob's thoughts on the developer playlist and the future of where they want to see Gears multiplayer go. In the interest of time, I'm not going to include all of that in this video. If you're interested in that stuff, this is one of the few streams that it's actually worthwhile to watch in full. So what does that leave us with here? Well, I'll clip out a few of the main highlights, and I'll be sure to include everything that's actual news. So stick around for the recap, or head down to the description for a link for the full stream.
Okay, so just really quickly, like I see people talking about the chunk range too,
Yeah.
as though like that's tied in. I mean, there is some obviously overlap there, but the chunk range in terms of where it's changing or if it would change is we're looking at addressing a few bugs. We actually talked about that today with a few developers, so that's not going to change in the near term, but we have plans around that. And once we have there's a few things we need to adjust about how it's being calculated, and once we have that in a good spot, we'll start sharing it with this audience.
Is 4v4 like? Is that something that we can expect to see kind of us trying to evolve more toward? Not from an esports standpoint, more from a total gameplay standpoint.
I think like as we played internally, and we're looking at it because King of the Hill, we tried it there. We have TGM at 4v4 right now. Some modes play better with it. Certain other modes like Guardian make sense probably to stay 5v5. We're playing it internally to find out which ones work well with it and which ones don't.
Personally, I prefer it as 5v5. I don't usually try to play super sweaty, and the extra player on the map keeps me in the action more. I get that 4v4 may be better for higher levels of play, but it's not really what I personally want. Part of me wants to suggest like 4v4 for ranked and 5v5 for social, but I'm not really sure if that's the type of split that we want happening in Gears.
Some people are saying that they prefer the old scoreboard system.
This was in regards to GP, I think. I saw this question earlier.
Yes.
Yeah. Obviously, score, because of the way it's calculated, like you may have a really high score, but your GP may not be near as high as somebody else based on the activities that give you things. So I don't want to add confusion there. But what I do want to do is when you see that scoreboard, you can understand who the MVP is. And then we're going to do different things to give bonuses for top players on each team. So that scoreboard should be able to be legible for that sort of purpose. So I think that with the next iteration and next operation, you'll see the improvements to the scoreboard. We're not going to go back to a straight scoring system instead of GP because I think having both would be really confusing. Something we can continue to take a look at. I think there's more improvements that can be made. There's some legacy stuff on the scoreboard we want to clean up. It's just about finding the time and the capacity to do it.
I really want to see them address the concerns around MVP and how people feel that and basically that alone, should be referencing the old scoring system. Like, most aren't arguing against the GP system, but when it comes to MVP, it seems pretty out of whack. Maybe he was trying to address this, but I couldn't really tell. It seems like anytime the classic scoreboard is brought up, TC always jumps to the defensive of, oh, well, the Gears point system is better than the old scoreboard. I've noticed this on a few topics. There's a few topics that whenever they appear, they kind of answer a different question because they're so used to seeing certain questions. But in doing so, they're completely ignoring the actual question being asked. Anyways, I'm not sure if that's what was happening here, but it just didn't seem too clear to me.
It's the person that just asked about the diamond weapon skins, and we had a look at them yesterday, and they look really good, more like the Gears 4 ones, and I believe they're going to be added in Op5.
And there you go. Enjoy your fancy shiny skin that I will never earn because I suck.
Any PvE news? Not really. Can you also add in a total damage dealt stat on the scoreboard? That's actually kind of an interesting stat.
So it's interesting because for some reason when it was originally built, it was only built to work with, it should work with PvP, but it wasn't set up to be able to show on the PvP stats. So that's something we're looking at in general. It's like how we can move more stats over. And damage dealt is one of those because I would love to be able to see like my lifetime damage dealt in some game modes, like even for like free-for-all, for instance. It'd be really nice to be able to tell. Because you don't always get those kills, right? Sometimes people clean up your downs for you. But it's nice to be able to know, oh, I actually did the most damage of the match and have that to kind of key off of and compare yourself to other players. So, yes, I love that stat, and we are looking at ways we can bring that stat into more stuff.
I feel like in this most recent matchmaking tweak, we've set it up so that people are definitely getting into matches more quickly now. The data is showing that. And actually, the the feedback that we're getting from the in-game data, as well as our social monitoring and sentiment analysis tools, are indicating across the board that people are generally having a better time getting into matches.
It's nice that whatever they did is working, but why haven't they said anything? Or have I just missed them saying something? I get that they want to keep it a secret so that it doesn't skew the data, but now that they've seen that it's working, it seems odd that there wasn't a big announcement. I'm guessing there's plenty of people who don't know that things were improved, and they've just given up trying.
Are there plans to add a proper war journal?
So we're looking in general about like tracking stats I mentioned earlier, but just ways that we can bring in more of that moment where you go and you look at all these my achievements and the ribbons and things that I've done. So yeah, that is something we're looking at. I don't have a timeline for it because that's something that a different group is driving. But yeah, it's something we've talked about a lot internally.
Okay. What's happening with lowering the swap speed? Are we lowering the swap speed?
Yeah, we're looking into the weapon swap speed. It's like, I feel like personally at the moment it's just a tad too fast. Like, I've been playing a lot of older Gears games at the moment, and those games were probably a tad too slow. So like maybe the in between is like the perfect spot, and it's just all about getting to that spot. I've got some changes internally that we're testing already with it. It's just like fine tuning it.
So I saw a person asking about the Gridiron, and we're looking at changes there. We've mentioned that a few times.
Yeah.
They ask about the flag delay. It's something we actually are testing internally. So as we have more information about the changes we're looking at making for both Gridiron and Escalation, we'll like talk about those. But since you called that one out in particular, yeah, it's something we are starting to test with. We're also testing a few other things about like in-zone behavior in Gridiron. We think will help improve the gameplay there when it comes to contesting an end zone when somebody's capping and those kind of things. So I would love to be able to share a lot more, but we're still testing internally, and once we know more, we'll tell you.
Huh, I thought Gridiron worked pretty well as is. I wonder what they'll be changing. Maybe it will be just as simple as standing in your end zone will pause the capture time. Gridiron is currently my favorite mode, so whatever it is, I'm interested in trying it out. And that does it for this week's recap. As usual, if you enjoyed these, don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I will catch you next time.